Hello and welcome to Cutter Farms. We're back with another episode of Edgewater, Saskatchewan, and today we have moved forward another month. We're in the first week of May now, and we are going to be putting in some canola. We've got the drill all filled up here with seed and fertilizer, and we're going to go over here and jump into our new field and tackle this seeding on our own. I think it's not that big of a field, and sometimes it's just fun to do it on your own after the frustrating experiences with course play on the janky field that we've got over there. It's going to be fun to mix it up a little bit. Now, I've noticed a lot of our crops here, before we get started, let's take a look, have grown up a bit here, and we've got our peas already grown up here to a medium amount of weeds, saying that they need a hoe. I'm not sure what the difference is between a hoe and a weeder. I don't seem to see any weeds in this wheat field growing yet, though, although our nitrogen and pH values are horrific. Well, I guess our pH is okay, but our nitrogen values are horrific there for wheat. Let's run across the road here and check out these lentils. The lentils have got a decent... Oh, their nitrogen level's perfect because they don't need any nitrogen, and their pH level is bad, which we can't really fix now. But again, these don't seem to have any weeds. It looks like they may have been sprayed. These are the two fields that we acquired, so they're in a little bit of an odd state, but our peas here that we grew, these both need rolling and a hoe. I don't know if they're too far advanced now to roll. They look like they've popped up pretty strongly here. I'm wondering if I missed a stage as we moved forward from April to May. I'd hope to get out here with the, well, what do they call it? The mechanical weeder. There's a Bourgeau harrow in the game that I was going to run through these fields to knock the weeds out, do it organically, but it looks like I've missed out on that opportunity, and we're going to be running a sprayer through there anywhere. That's okay. We actually have a sprayer, so we'll have to take a look at that. Maybe we'll get the harrow out in our canola or something when the time comes. But for now, let's go ahead and get this done. Oh, we are not on automatic rate, so let's get automatic rate going here so that we're putting down the right amount of nitrogen for our canola. There we go. And we are off to the races. I am going to seed the headlands first on this with the giant drill. I think that's going to work out the best for us. I don't know exactly which order the farmers up in Saskatchewan prefer to do this. In my experience, the farmers I worked with, when we were using a drill, we would put the headlands in first, and then we would know when to stop with the drill when we were coming on the up-down rows, which ironically, when I worked for the row crop farmer, we were using a farming practice called ridge till. And so we would always plant the headlands last when we were doing ridge till because we knew where our headlands were. And we would usually run a little bit of tillage right on the headland after we were done planting the the up-down rows so that we could break up some of that compaction. And then we put the end rows in. So there's a lot of different ways to do things. One of the things I have learned about farming is that you can do your best to try and figure out what the quote-unquote right way to do something is, but there's always somebody doing it a little bit different. So I'm always learning something new every time we do something, even in Farm Sim. I always appreciate all the comments from everybody with ideas, suggestions, and feedback from real-life farms. We're going to straighten ourselves out here. I was distracted with my monologuing, and we almost went crazy off into the field. Now, this is the direction I'm going to choose for my up-down along the road here, so we're going to go ahead and get GPS going, create a nice AB line. There we go. That way, when we get done with our headland passes, we're all ready to go on the up-downs. Now, I do like this field. It's got some nice curved corners to it, so they're not quite as sharp as some of the other places that we've run into, and that makes coming up onto the headland passes that much easier. We're still adjusting to using these articulated tractors. I have a tendency to oversteer quite a bit, or understeer as the case may be. So we're getting there. And I am gonna come right back over top of this area I seeded before to try and make sure that I got the nitrogen applied here. A little bit inefficient way of doing that, but it's the easiest thing that came to mind. And I think we're gonna take 3 headland passes off is what people were recommending after I did the last field with this drill. We were getting a little close to the fence line there, and 3 passes seems a little bit more reasonable when we've got such a large train behind us. This is really putting the nitrogen down. Hopefully in future runs our soil won't be quite in so bad a state and we won't have to apply so much fertilizer, but as is typical in farm sim with precision farming, that first year on a new field is always pretty rough when it comes to nitrogen levels. And then thankfully we've got the GPS track on this side, so we can get going a little straighter, a little more efficiently. You can see the parts we missed back there. We were not quite lined up right, so we're getting there, folks. We're getting there. This is all new equipment to me. It always surprises me how different every piece of equipment can feel, the different sizes, and just how they handle as far as turning and such. So we have made mistakes, though. I should have taken that corner like we did before. We're going to try and back up as straight as possible for as long as it'll let me. And oh my goodness, that worked out perfectly. We're overlapping quite a bit more than I'd like to at the moment. That's all right. We're getting it all seated. I'd rather overlap a little bit than have big gaps all over my field. I'm gonna take this and then we're gonna do kind of a turn maneuver here, I think, rather than try to make that tight corner. Here we are. Boom, just like that. All right, we're gonna take this 3rd pass here. And that'll give us more than enough room to get turned around. I feel like by the time we're done with 3 passes, we've pretty much done the bulk of this field, but that's all right. We probably could have got started on up-down rows, but I don't want to end up in the ditch or in the tree line, so off we go. And I don't know if this is an official maneuver or not, but it feels a lot better than trying to make those tight hairpin curves. So we're just gonna turn the other way here. Turn left to go right. Doesn't sound logical, but it works out so much easier in some of these cases. And I'm gonna go ahead and just square off this side of the headland a bit. Make our lives a little bit more, well, straightened off. When I'm coming down on the up-down row, it's a little bit confusing. And oh, we've pulled into the GPS track, but we've got this area here. I'm gonna have to go back through and run the seeder over that. That's too big of a gap to leave. It'll bug me. And we're missing all kinds of little bits here. So I think what we're gonna do is turn back into the area we've done already. And I'm gonna drop this down and we're just gonna clean these up. I know it's a little bit of a waste. We're getting a lot of seed drilled in here that we don't necessarily need, but let's just have a nice clean looking field, shall we? The nice thing about the drill is I guess we're not going right back into the same row necessarily, and if we have a little bit higher plant population, it's not a bad thing. Might be a little bit inefficient, but we'll be able to harvest them at least. And yeah, in the grand scheme of things, this thing is pretty well sized for our farm, I feel like. At some point, I'd like to upgrade into something maybe a little bit bigger, make our lives easier to knock out these fields in a few less passes, but I think that's going to require us to upgrade into a bigger tractor. I don't think this Versatile's got the horsepower to really tackle a larger drill. And so we're gonna make do with what we've got for the time being, at least. I'm hoping that this year we have a record profit and we can maybe start looking into upgrading our machinery into some more modern things. One of the things I love about Farm Sim is getting to play around with a lot of different equipment. And I feel like I've let myself get stuck into maybe just using the same set of equipment that I start a series off on for far too long. And I've always been hesitant to use leasing and things like that in my series. It just felt too easy, I think, in a lot of ways. But I've gotten over that a little bit because I think it's more fun to get some variety and do some things. And as long as I'm not full on cheating in tons of money and just doing whatever I want, it still feels like we've got a natural progression and we're kind of getting into things in a meaningful way. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get through this next harvest season, and then we may look at upgrading this drill and some other equipment, or bringing something else out onto the farm temporarily just to have some new experiences. That's what I'm looking for. And this should be our last round. I should be able to finish this up. We'll make sure we finish on the other end there before we come back and get this little corner that we missed. I guess we didn't miss it, but just haven't hit yet, that little triangle. And we've used hardly any seed in this field. Our seed rate, we're in the low seed rate for a good chunk of the area we're planting. So we're using up I think it's 20% less seed when we do that. Based on soil types. Be really curious to see how this canola performs in different areas on the map. We've got a few different soil types here, and the differences between this field and the other big field that we have are huge. I said I was going to clean up that corner before we came back here, and I didn't do it. But if we look here at the precision farming map for a second, you can see we've got loam, silty clay, sandy loam here, but we've got a huge amount of loamy sand over in this other field that we're going to be seeding next. And I'm really curious to see what the yield differences are going to be between those two chunks of land for the canola crop specifically. I haven't actually gone and looked it up. I could look it up in the precision farming data files to see how canola performs in different soil types, but we're already committed to putting it in the ground. Let's just see how it performs, and then we'll know. Part of the adventure with Farm Sim is getting to be a quote-unquote first-time farmer and learning some of this stuff on our own rather than knowing everything going into it. Although I suppose in today's day and age, even new farmers have all of the tools and science behind them that if they do a little bit of research, get some good soil samples done, that really you'd know exactly what you need to do in your fields. Although, like I said, the wonderful thing about farming is there's a bunch of different viewpoints on what the right thing to do is. So, yeah, we're going to go for that experience and see what we see. All right, now we're going to get this thing refilled here. Specifically, we need solid fertilizer. So I think I'm going to just skip into the fertilizer and get that filled up since we're in the 90s still for our seed capacity. And this is the most painful refilling process that I've run into so far. I'm going to turn this around on the field. Probably not the best idea, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, due to the collider there, I can't drive over the auger, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I also have no way to move this auger to get it underneath where I need to go. Let's double check this one more time just to be sure that I'm not missing a control. Doesn't appear to do anything. So we're gonna do the tried and true method of lift and shift. And we're full up on fertilizer. I think that's one other reason why I want to look into changing out some equipment, getting some more equipment. We could probably use a good grain truck to unload into this much more naturally, and it'd probably be a little bit more realistic to what I've seen. I've seen a lot of people with grain trucks that just back up to these hoppers and dump into them, but I also see a lot of people with semis where they swing it underneath. Well, enough griping about that. Let's jump into putting some seed into this field. I am going to yellow average course play, I think, for this one, because it is a nice, reasonably shaped field. We're going to up it to 3 headland passes like we said before. We've got one row skip on the books here. It generates a nice little course here, and we're going to start on the headlands, which puts our start point right here next to us. Perfect. So let's go ahead and get this guy pointed in the right direction. We're going to swing it around for course play, make it a little bit easier on itself. And I'll go ahead and turn the drill on myself just to hit this while we're driving by anyway. Now, I forgot to look and see what kind of cornering mode I put on this course. So I'm mildly concerned that as I get down to those end corners that it's going to try to do something dumb with the sharp corners, but it looks like we've got a nice gradual turn, at least on this end. So I'm going to trust it to do its thing here. Oh, I guess we've got nice rounded-ish corners on that end at least, so maybe it won't be a problem at all. I always find that the fence line tends to be the biggest issue with course play most of the time. Alright, we have finished the 3 headland passes, and I'm noticing we're having a bit of a struggle with some of the corners here, so we're going to have to clean a few of these places up. But let's go ahead and, I think, take back over here from our friend, the course play worker. And I think we're going to tackle some of this on our own. We are starting to run low on fertilizer, but we've still got a fair bit, so let's go ahead and just nab these bits down here before I forget about them while we're getting turned around anyway. There we are. And I think what we're going to do, because this area right here is kind of awkward, is I'm going to take another pass this way along the length of the road. We'll fill this area out, and then when I get to the other end, we will do the up-down rows that way. That will, I think, work out the best. That way we're doing this section left and right and the other part up and down. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how we do things with the drill. There is no real concept of having rows here. We're going to be coming back out here with a cutting head and being able to take this at whatever direction that we feel makes the most sense. So I'm kind of enjoying not having to think about crop rows. Not that Farm Sim really forces you into having to deal with road crops anyway, but when I'm planting something like corn, I just can't help but have that mentality as I go into things. So let's see if I can find an appropriate path here. Something around there looks pretty good. I'm probably just a smidge off, yep. Let's see if I can bring our GPS course back in. I don't know. My keyboard commands for altering GPS left-right don't seem to be working so good. I think I'm on a slight angle here. I didn't get going as straight as I'd wanted to. So we're going to try that one more time here. I've got to clean all of this up now. Oh my goodness, we've made a mess. That's so embarrassing. Alright, let's do this one more time. I blame the articulated steering. It's throwing me off a little bit. All right, we're on a 180 heading now. Let's do this. There we go. This should work this time. We'll get back down here to the end. We'll do another round and see if it goes straight enough for us. I'm going to go ahead and blow away this course play course just so I have to look at all the lines on my mini-map. And now the trick is, because I just made that in the middle of nowhere, is going to be to get aligned here. GPS align, start. There we go. We should have a nice straight line now down this field. Got just a smidge of overlap. We'll get everything straightened out here though. We'll have to clean up that other end too because I came in at a bit of a curve, it looks like. My goodness, we're just all over the place. I wanted to save ourselves a little bit of time taking over from the course play for doing the up-down rows, because I actually find running this drill to be pretty fun with the GPS. Oops, we're looking at the wrong way here. Let's see if we can handle doing a skip row. There we go. Try and go in a little bit straighter than we did on the previous run. I find that it's just a little bit tough to turn right back into the same row with this seeder sometimes, so it's preferable if you can skip over a row, and that's where the GPS comes in. Course play would have done the same thing, but I don't know. I just found that sometimes it's better to do it yourself. You're sitting here anyway. If I had another piece of equipment and another job that we were doing right now, I could see myself wanting to let course play go on the seeding here. I guess we could have probably gotten the sprayer set up and started spraying that first field there. But you know what? We're going to give it a minute, wait until the weeds are a little bit bigger, I think, before we spray with the herbicide. I can't remember how it goes, but I think you take a penalty if you spray them before the correct stage. I'm not entirely sure though. Either way, this field wasn't that big. This drill really knocks it out pretty quickly. So I might as well just wrap up one job at a time. I think that having all of our seeding out of the way for the year is going to be a great achievement for this episode. We've got lots of crops going here. I can't wait to knock out our spraying over the summer here. I think that's the only job we have really to do over the summer. And we're going to be jumping right into harvest here in another couple episodes. And I cannot wait for that, knowing that we're probably 2 episodes out from harvest. Harvest is my favorite part of farming. All the hard work that you've done throughout the year, hopefully paying off in abundant yields. And we're going to have a lot of fun with it on this map this year. We've got new crop mechanics to deal with. We've got new crops we've never harvested before. I can't wait to I can't wait to see how much money we make either. Take one more here. Take out this sharp corner piece, and then I guess we could go the other way to knock out some of this. I don't know that it matters a ton. We're going to try something. I think there's a keyboard command to rotate the track. And so there we go. I'm going to rotate that to there. And then I got a button to align it. There we go. Let's see how this works out, if I can get myself straightened out here. Nice. I'm gonna move us to the right a bit though, because we've got a little bit there that we need to knock out. Sometimes it's just easier to turn on the HUD indicators that help you out a little bit, especially when you're running this bigger equipment like this. I find it's useful to see where I'm supposed to be going. Amusingly, the tree blocks my vision right as I'm talking about seeing where I'm going. But yeah, the guidance steering mod has definitely been one of my most used and favorite mods over the years with Farming Simulator. Makes so many things just plain easier. Alright, we are officially done with this field. I'm going to clean up this little corner bit that we missed here, I guess. So almost done with this field, I should say, I suppose. And let's see if I can turn sharp enough to actually pick that up. And as long as we're out here making a mess, I know, we're going to get these other 2 little bits that we missed. Can't help myself. We got to do it. In real life, I'd probably be doing more damage and compaction to the crops that have already been planted. It wouldn't be worth it. You'd dig things up and waste so much more product trying to fill in a little 6-inch sliver like this, but it's Farm Sim. We're going to go for optimizing our yields, and we managed to do it without running out of fertilizer. I was kind of wondering with how fast the fertilizer was running out, especially after we tackled our headlands and we were so low that we weren't going to make it to the end of the field, but we survived. We've got 18% fertilizer left, and I don't know what we're going to do with our leftover products here. We may get some storage bins for seed and fertilizer set up somewhere in the yard here. It might be easier to fill out of them than directly, since all of our fields are up here at the yard. I'm not really sure. We've gotten all of our crops planted here in field 1, both sides. Field 50 and then fields 2 and 51 had their crops already put in. I'm going to cry about it the entire time we go through this year about how poorly the field was put in for 51. But yeah, we're there. I think next episode we're going to bust out this Best Away sprayer here and see if we can knock out getting the weed sprayed across all of our fields. And you know what? Maybe we'll even get out a roller or something if we need to. Looks like some of these fields need rolling. We could definitely do that here in some of them. I think this field is probably too far grown to be rolled, so we may have to do that for the canola, see if we can really boost the yield on this, because the canola is going to be our cash crop for next year. However, I think that's going to be where we wrap things up today. Hopefully you've enjoyed the episode. If you have, drop a like. And if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button for more daily Farm Sim content. That's all for today. Kedrick out. Hello and welcome to Kedrick Farms. We're back with another episode of Edgewater, Saskatchewan, and oh my goodness, didn't even get the intro done and we've wrecked the tractor.